Welcome to Las Películas Sábados Gigantes at the Cinemarijuana Theatre. That's right. That's right.
Yay!
It's a party.
It is. It is.
Oh, the cops are here.
Yeah.
Got shut down.
The shitlords of cinematic scrutiny. We are here to talk about movies, and in this special edition, we've decided to do a special series as yet to be named, wherein we tackle presidential pictures.
Presidential picks and flicks.
As this is an election year, and arguably the most depressing and disappointing election year in the history of humankind.
Dude, it's exciting.
It's
this
wonderful.
Is a fucking crazy, wacky, zany election year.
A lot of creamy memes this year.
Yeah, yes. Creme de la meme.
Dank maymays, as the kids say.
So
The dankest.
we're kicking things off in POTUS fashion with the Manchurian Candidate from 1962. So before we start talking about this film, clockwise, starting with me, I'm Ed.
I'm Raul.
I'm John.
I'm Chris.
All right. So who wants to tackle the synopsis?
Oh, John? I like John.
All right, I like you too, Chris.
All right.
A lot of opening up
Okay,
tonight.
yeah. So basically, these guys come back from the Korean War, and one of them, the platoon comes back from the Korean War, and two of them died, but one apparently saved them all, gets the Medal of Honor, and he's a hero, and seems to be a national hero. But then his commanding officer starts having these weird, reoccurring dreams of them being brainwashed and hypnotized by Chinese government, which at first nobody believes him, thinks he's nuts, and then until he finds out another member of the platoon was having the same dreams, and they start putting two and two together and realize that in fact they actually were brainwashed, and that the one who had received the Congressional Medal of Honor is being navigated into a position of power by communist interests.
Complex.
Yeah, there's a lot
Very
going on. I mean,
complicated.
there's double agents and triple agents, and yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So, yeah. All right. All right. So this film was released in 1962, starring Frank Sinatra, Lawrence Harvey, and Janet Leigh.
Angela Lansbury.
Oh, yes, that's correct. Angela Lansbury is in it as well as Henry Silva, who's a famous bad guy. He's one of those guys you'd be like, oh, I know I've seen that guy, but you don't know what the fuck you saw him
That
in.
guy from that thing.
Yeah. Directed by John Frankenheimer and based on a book by Richard Condon. And the screenplay was written by George Axelrod and others. It was also co-produced by Frankenheimer, who's something of a notorious director in Hollywood, or at least to those in the know. Yeah, so I guess before we start tackling shit, who wants to go first? Who wants to tell us what they thought first? Well, fuck it, I never go first. So why don't I
go
go
first.
All right.
Start with you.
Oh, should I
You
go
want
last?
to?
I will.
You get? Yeah, we'll save Chris. We'll save Chris for last. All right. So,
I read that.
yeah, this. Wow. It's interesting because I knew of this movie before watching it tonight. This is the first time I've seen it, and it was kind of weird because I was expecting something completely different. I don't know what I was expecting. I certainly thought that the movie wasn't as old as it was. I thought it was from like the 70s. So to find out it was from 1962 and in black and white was pretty. Really rocked my fucking world.
Yeah, I had no idea it was in black and white. I could have swore it was in color.
Yeah, it really shocked my eyelids to put it in juggalese.
That's some dark carnival shit you're on right now.
Yeah, but I thought it's a slow burn, okay, for starters, and it definitely requires intellectual participation. This is not the kind of flick you can get up and go like to the kitchen for a bit and come back. Like you got to be paying attention, really, not only really to comprehend what's going on, but to really appreciate the gravity of the situation. Really beautiful photography. A lot of the shots were really fucking spectacular and something really fun to look at. Frankenheimer seemed to have a really fascinating approach to where he was going to stick the camera in a lot of these shots. I'm not a big Sinatra fan. In fact, I've kind of been a detractor of his since his death, and I don't have to fear repercussions.
Well, at least musically, anyway.
Well,
now his mob buddies can't come after you for talking shit.
I mean, I guess they can, but
but they're all dead too.
it might be worse now because that whole Reverence for the Dead thing. But Sinatra's actually good. I mean, he's okay in it. He's pretty good. Really, Lawrence Harvey is the one who's carrying the brunt of the film, and him and Angela Lansbury are both fantastic. Also, 1962, the way it's shot, it almost has a Twilight Zone look to it. That kind of the film stock and the lighting.
I felt it almost had like a TV show vibe.
Yeah,
a lot of the shots and just it like you could easily think you were watching a TV show.
Janet Leigh has a very, I don't know. Has a very stark look to her. Her makeup and her sort of expression. She's kind of scary. She kind of reminds me of some characters from some Twilight Zone episodes. But all in all, I thought it was a pretty interesting and complex plot that also kind of had a lot to say about sort of politics, kind of at the time and still really today. So I guess my 3 words are fucking just don't pay attention good. There we go. That's my 3 words. I was trying to figure out how to phrase it properly.
Pay attention good.
Right.
Best way you could phrase that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bizarro say, pay attention good to movie.
In Bizarro World,
shit, that's
paying
a huge
attention
diss.
bad.
That's right. Yeah.
That'd be a roast.
Me say, no, watch this film.
Yeah.
It am not good.
All right, Raul.
It's kind of. I was a little split with this one. I liked it, but I think it's kind of a victim of its own age. There's some awkward narration in the beginning. There's a little hammy at times, and the story's great, and there's a lot of depth. And this story you could tell every 15 years, and it's still going to be just as potent as it's ever been. I know there was the one remake with Denzel. I don't know how long. Maybe that's, 10 years
2004, I think it was.
so,
2004. So I'm kind of curious to see that now and see what they used. I mean, obviously, if they made it today, I think we all know what they would be using in place of communism.
Yeah. No
So
kidding.
it's kind of cool to see that tale that's so old and that's still really fresh. And it even tackles things like PTSD and things.
Yeah.
In that sense, it kind of reminded me of Jacob's Ladder, where I don't know if you guys have seen that.
The Tim Robbins film.
Where you have this whole crew kind of go into battle, and then they're
Right.
victims of an experiment they kind of didn't really want much to do with.
Yeah.
And well, it's funny too that you could see it as like being metaphorical for just regular PTSD. Like both in Jacob's Ladder and this, they received a very special form of PTSD. But it's very easy to see it metaphorically in the film, just representing any form of PTSD.
Yeah.
Just from the normal horrors of war.
Well, and also too how prescient to really deal with triggers, as that's such a huge fucking thing in today's world. And having these, a literal triggering device with these cards when he sees them. I don't know. Yeah.
Which at first I thought that was kind of cheesy, the whole solitaire thing. Then I also kind of got into this weird inner monologue of how like solitaire must have been the first app ever. Like I just assumed everyone carried a deck of cards. Like, oh, it's time to play my mobile game.
It was the original
and it's fucking
smartphone.
solitaire. Yeah.
Well, it's funny, even in that bar, like they had a deck of cards.
Yeah.
Like it's like pretty much any place you go, you can probably find a deck of cards, especially back then.
Yeah. So I really like the imagery with the cards. I thought that was really neat plot device.
Yeah.
My 3 words would be Manchurian Candidate 3D.
The 4D experience.
I'll bet the Denzel one is a lot more action packed. I was gonna say the one thing I could probably guess for sure about the Denzel one is that the pacing is gonna be a lot.
The one thing that I can guess, the Chinese won't be the bad guys.
Right. But once
Yeah,
this one got going, it got pretty ballsy.
Yeah.
Yeah, had a lot to say. All right.
Okay, yeah. Well, I've always wanted to see this movie. This was just like Ed was saying. I mean, it's very iconic and legendary. It's funny. I actually feel on some level, maybe we can talk about this in Balls Deep a tiny bit, that like I didn't think I was wrong because I assumed the whole idea was they were brainwashing somebody to be a presidential candidate. Because it seems like when you hear the term Manchurian Candidate, the idea is like somebody who's an actual candidate for office who is having somebody puppeting him and controlling him. And this guy was never in the run for, I mean, they were trying to get somebody into office who was a communist, but he was almost an unwitting communist himself. And then the person who was actually, I think, the titular Manchurian candidate was not to run for office, but to assassinate somebody.
Right.
So it was definitely different than I thought it was going to be too. I didn't even know Sinatra was in this until I read it on the Netflix sleeve.
Right. Yeah.
So that really caught me off guard. But yeah, the imagery is really cool and interesting. I really liked because it takes some time to get going. But what for me when it started hitting is when you first time you see Frank Sinatra's dream, where they're all getting brainwashed, and it's like the soldiers are there in the same location, the same chair, same position. But first it's the hotel and it's the old ladies. Then it's like they're in the compound with the Chinese and the Russians. And then it's like, then they're back in the hotel, but now the Chinese guy's there. And it was like, I love how he kept moving the different kind of casts into different locations. So, 1 minute it's the old ladies in the hotel, then it's the Chinese guys in the hotel. And then they're in the hotel and they're in the compound. And I thought it was a good way to sort of illustrate what was going on so that you kind of got it. Because it might make it hard to get that.
Well, that they were seeing things.
They were seeing things differently, right? But yeah, it's really cool. I guess Sinatra did really do a good job, which I was surprised by because I understand he sort of phones it in through most of his roles.
By his own admission, apparently.
Yeah. So, but I guess this was a little more near and dear to his heart. Yeah, Angela Lansbury. Wow, she has never been more. Ruthless, I think, in this one. It's funny because she's
cold as ice.
Well, yeah, because she almost always plays like a grandmotherly type of good role, like
Mrs. Potts.
Yeah, Mrs. Potts or
fucking substitutionary locomotion.
Yeah, and who was she? Fucking
Murder, She
Angela. Was it no? Jessica Fletcher.
Yeah. I thought her name was Murder She Wrote.
That's her. Well, that's only her. That's her nom de plume.
Oh, okay.
But here she's really just ruthless, and it's pretty shocking. And I thought that it was much darker and kind of bolder and more satirical, and like Raul was saying, like dealing with things like shell shock. It was much bolder than I thought a movie for 62 would be.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I guess this did face some controversy coming out, which doesn't surprise me because they were really dealing with some serious themes here.
Well, I understand it creates cash.
I've heard that. That is the case.
Good point.
So yeah, it's definitely one, and that could be remade every year, just changing a new political opponent, basically being the issue. So, but nothing beats the original. So yeah, it's my 3 words are going to be movie with shitballs.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
hey, we saved the best for last. It's Chris.
That's right.
Man.
It is. Take
Lay
it
it
away.
on.
Get him, champ.
Yeah. Man,
Take us home, Chris.
Got him on the ropes, kid.
What a movie. Full of kids, full of
us home,
tomatoes. No, this movie, I kept thinking about Trumbo the whole time. I kept thinking about the 11/22/63, even though it's not good. The whole time, which is about the Kennedy assassination. If you don't watch it,
is that not good?
The Stephen King one, right?
It's Stephen King.
Stephen King did a movie about a fucking
It's
Stephen
TV
King
show.
and J.J. Abrams, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's like your kryptonite. It's like King and Abrams together. I assume if I put an episode on, you start bleeding from the eyes.
Dude, it's King and Abrams. It's like
Franco,
it's
James
like the
Franco's in it.
it's like the cinematic double down version of a shit sandwich.
Yeah, I'd actually like to cast on it. There's a whole bunch of weird things about it I'd like to talk about. It's weird. Anyway, but the whole thing with Oswald, I kept thinking about the whole time through this movie. It's just weird that the year after this came out, there was the Kennedy assassination. It's kind of amazing that it's such a similar story with a guy going to, overseas, I guess, kind of, and then coming back, maybe brainwashed.
Yeah, possibly.
Different,
All
who
man
knows?
chewed out.
Yeah, man chewed. Just got his man chewed on all for a couple
man
years.
chewed.
Should have been the Fu Manchurian Candidate.
Hey,
true.
they even say
Oh
Fu
my
Manchu.
God.
When they come back with like Fu Manchus.
Yeah, that's the only giveaway.
Fu Man who?
Fu Manchu.
Thank you.
But it was, I thought it seemed kind of Citizen Kane-esque at some point, and I can't actually tell you what it was about.
No, I can see that because sort of the way that
It's like
he was kind of like Citizen Kane in the sense that he's revered, even though he doesn't necessarily kind of want to be, and this sort of he's almost like a legend in his own life, in his own time.
And it's kind of like a few people that know what is actually going on versus insurmountable kind of odds inside of their own kind of political systems. I don't know. Anyway, but Yeah, what a good movie. It was really a lot more controversial than it's a good movie than I thought it was going to be. I didn't think it was going to deal with the stuff that you guys talked about, PTSD and like
I
all
thought it was
the
going to be a
things.
little simpler, a little safer.
Yeah, guys he blows his own head off, like he shoots himself.
Fucking
in
Private Piles it.
fucking
Yeah.
very violent. I mean,
The private pile driver.
the whole thing. Yeah, it's cool. 60s, man. So much about the 60s just kind of blows me away. It's what a decade.
No, it was Looney Tunes, man. On the serious tip, like it was nuts.
Yeah, people
I'll
were
tell
all
you
like,
from having been there.
yeah,
I'm just
right.
kidding.
I can tell you stories.
I wasn't there, but
All
it's
Freud,
still
like
shit.
all Freudian. Seems like
Yeah.
everybody is all. I don't know. Anyway,
You got 3 words for us?
3 words for this movie would be a must watch.
All right.
Good.
Bitchin'. Okay, so a couple of things we can talk about here. I wrote down a note about Sinatra being frequently shitty in films. According to IMDb, as I said, it is by his own admission.
Oh.
And he basically he admitted that his best work was always on the first take. And I'm kind of like, what kind of entitled bullshit is that?
Yeah.
I would have loved reading this, dude. It would have been rad for because I think Frankenheimer did French Connection,
Pretty sure, yeah.
right? Or am I confusing him with William Friedkin? Okay, wait. I might be fucking shit up here. But all I'm saying is is that okay for Natch to be like, no, my best shit's usually on the first take?
Well, okay, as I understand it, too, like, he insisted all his scenes would be done after shooting for 15 days.
Yeah, well, and they couldn't roll till 11 because
Right.
he wouldn't get up
'cause he would-
early, and then he
because
had
he
to
would
be
get
done
to
by
5.
5, and
Right.
they had to front load all his scenes so he could shoot them first,
Right.
and then before he left the set, he got final cut, he got approval on him or
He
something.
insisted on seeing all the footage of him shot, even to the point stuff that wasn't ready to basically assemble dailies for him.
Yeah.
And he asked it a way that it was quoted that insinuated that kneecaps would get broken if he didn't get what he wanted.
Jeez.
But
Rolling
I
around a
guess
movie
though,
racket there.
on the positive tip for him, he loved this book, and this was sort of a project that was near and dear to his heart. And the reason why he actually does a good job in this, in spite of all his phoning it innedness, with this movie he gave just enough of the shit where I think you probably said this is his best role because he cared at least a little bit with this one.
Maybe From Here to Eternity.
Oh, could be. I haven't seen that. But just the fact that at least with this subject matter, it wasn't like he knew the story, he knew the script, he fought to get this movie made. So at least he cared some.
Well, and also, too, I guess the legend goes he fucked his hand up in the fight with Hop Singh.
Yeah, supposedly
And
it plagued him for the rest of his life. And
Yeah.
he claimed that was the first, basically martial arts fight on film.
film,
but
yeah.
it's not. That's kind of not true. There was a lot of earlier versions of that.
But so I guess if he had to be a fucking prima donna, at least he left with a fucked up hand. So
Yeah, well, hey, at least he got something for it.
It was a good fight scene.
So one thing the book mentions that Angela Lansbury's character and Lawrence Harvey's character actually fuck. Now there was the scene in there. They don't put it in the movie, but there was a scene where I thought, are they gonna fuck?
Hold on, is Lawrence Harvey the candidate?
Yeah.
Oh, because they make out.
Right, that was what they put in, I guess,
They
as
open-mouth
acknowledgement
French
to that.
kiss
is
to all
'cause
you at
that
home.
was
Oh, weird.
that was as far as they would let it go.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh wow, that's kind of interesting.
Is there a reason why? Because they don't really
Yeah.
I don't know.
hint at a reason.
I think, and I would think, just from if you want to paint an enemy as being the bad guy,
You got to show him violating
Right.
all of your most sacred.
and it's a pretty
fucking
common thing to
taboos.
use some kind of a sexual taboo as a way of showing that, oh no, these people are fucked up.
Yeah, oh, they
So-
don't take this seriously
right,
like
right.
we do. Like they're
so to have
dangerous.
something like incest, which would just be so unspeakable, and to have it be something that she's into, it's just, I think it's almost an easy way to just show somebody as being super bad. Like you just have somebody walk in, just pick up a puppy, just punt into a lake or something, just to really just visually show this person's fucked up.
right.
Yeah. Just to drive it home.
Was this film, critical of the United States, the military, at all? I mean, can we glean
Sure.
any leanings like that from
Outrageously,
it?
wasn't it?
Or was it, or was it secretly about PTSD?
I think it's very easy to see that's maybe what it was about, yeah. And then also the Army's reaction initially when Sinatra tried to tell them something's up and they kind of
They're
don't
like,
give
no,
a
no, no,
shit.
yeah.
Like that alone really covers probably what a lot of people have to deal with in that situation. It was just standard PTSD, not brainwashing.
Well, and then it does show them plagued by their nightmares and shit later, and nothing really is done.
Yeah, they reassign him to an easier position, which is basically demoting him.
Yeah,
And he's like, yeah, they kind of just shit on him.
and it is affecting seemingly all of them pretty negatively. So yeah, I mean, I wonder if Condon or this Axelrod guy had I wonder if they were a veteran or something and they had like an axe to grind.
Oh, yeah. Could be. I know that happened. I forget what other movie I was just reading about. I thought it was a Kubrick film, actually, that, like, for some reason he made. Shit, which one?
Full Metal Jacket?
Yeah. Oh, no, shit. It was a film that he saw that made him want to make Full Metal Jacket. I can't remember what it was now. I shouldn't be talking about it, but.
Telling tales out of school now.
YouTube docs, they're the best.
Yeah,
Probably
yeah.
full of shit half the time.
Oh fuck! I was gonna. Dang it! I had a good one. No, it's gone.
Oh well, doesn't matter.
Maybe it'll come back when I hit this.
You can edit it out.
That'll
later.
always help you
can-
remember stuff
You
better.
can edit it in later.
Well, hey, I thought we could talk about the conversation they have on the train.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting scene because we all. Oh, it's funny because we all thought the same fucking thing that Roger Ebert thought.
Right, but was apparently not. Okay, so on during the scene where Sinatra meets Janet Leigh for the first time,
Right.
they have this whole conversation on the train where it's a lot of banter back and forth, which some people thought was just smart, sexy banter between two smart, sexy people.
Right.
And apparently, the dialogue was lifted basically verbatim from the book, and in the book, there's really no connotation that it has any meaning.
Yeah.
But watching this, I don't see how we all thought the same thing. How is she not feeding him some kind of like control lines here? And it's almost sort of funny when you get these kind of like levels of like intrigue like this. Like how deep does it go?
Yeah.
Like who's controlling who in the
Right.
end, and how many people are controlling how many people?
That's a
Right.
good point.
Well, and she even gives some like suspicious sounding details. She's like, I was on with the fucking Chinese like railroad workers.
Yeah, yeah.
You're like, what? And the way she's looking at him, she looks fucking scary in this movie.
And her instantaneous interest. Like, okay, like, all right, you're a woman apparently traveling on a train.
It's like
a man comes and sits down next to you. He has some kind of freak out and he runs out, and you immediately follow him and start a conversation with him.
Isn't that what happens in North by Northwest? Doesn't he gets on the fucking train and
Strange on the train, man.
she goes right for him, and Cary Grant totally falls for it, and she's like, I don't remember. I got to watch that again. It's been a while. But yeah, I thought I thought it was certainly hearing that other people felt the same way.
I would have loved to have some kind of a scene at the end, like the ultimate Twilight Zone twist. Just like the soldiers in the hotel. You see Janet Leigh from a different angle, and Sinatra sees Janet Leigh, but we see somebody else.
Right. Yeah.
You know, we see her as she really is.
Yeah.
And it would be great. It could have been the bald Chinese guy with the mustache. That
That
would
would have been
hilarious.
so funny. God, that would have been so great.
We don't really ever find out what happens to him, right?
No.
I think
No,
it is
which
him.
is he was sort of kind of the main villain, kind
Yeah.
of. So you sort of
Well,
he would have.
he was pretty good natured, man. He was
Well, okay,
pretty.
he was,
in
but that
high.
was
He
just
was
to make him more
humorous.
sinister.
sense
He was
humor,
like, no, he seemed like a pretty nice dude.
Yeah, he seemed like a cool guy.
If I ever
I
get
mean,
killed or tortured by somebody, I hope they have a sense
It's
of
like
humor.
that guy.
Like, yeah, if you're gonna listen, if I'm gonna be a soldier and get kidnapped, have my brain cut into, and be hypnotized and make myself a kill machine, I want to be a nice guy who does it.
Right.
Fun, jovial person, like
Yeah.
says,
Joke here and
humor.
there. Yeah.
You know,
sure.
gets you through the day.
Yeah.
So the end was totally Star Trek 6.
Yeah. Well, or vice versa. Star
Wait,
Trek 6
elaborate.
was totally
Well,
bad.
wait a minute. Wasn't wasn't Star Trek 6 basically a reworking of this only
Manchurian
without
Candidate?
yeah,
Yeah.
without
I
the,
guess
it
that's
is.
kind of true. The
without
whole
without the hypnotizing.
assassination thing, and even with the Klingons sort of maybe being like a metaphor for like the communists. And
Yeah.
That's well then
Yeah.
and then very literally the end. You've got the dude, you've got the sniper, you've got the gathering of people.
It's the
'cause
same scene.
It was
even,
it was
yeah.
the,
It's
it was
exact
it
same
was the,
scene.
the debate of the campaign rally, whatever was in this, and then
Yeah.
in Star
He's
Trek
even
6,
like up in a.
it's the
fucking
conference
thing,
Kittimer, right? And then you got the sniper up in the wings, and then you've got fucking
Yeah.
some dude running to
Right.
save him, and I mean it's not Kirk that
And
he
there's
gets
a-
the sniper, but
There's even
Scotty,
a guy,
but-
in the audience too, and a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even the way he's up high,
Right.
his vantage point and
Yeah,
stuff,
same
and the, Yeah, wow. Who wrote that? Who wrote fucking Star Trek 6?
I think Nick Meyer. Which
You
is why
hack.
It was all Axelrod.
Don't say that.
No, I'm just kidding.
No. Nick Meyer's rad. Nick Meyer, he's also the guy that's responsible for The Wrath of Khan and Time After Time.
It's actually funny that there's a line.
Star Trek 6 is rad, too.
They used a shot from Hitchcock in this movie, which the director Frankenheimer was saying that, like, at the time people would call it a ripoff, but now it'd be called like an homage.
Right.
And that's sort of funny, is that what we're talking about now I would think would be like an homage.
Yeah.
Like it was not a ripoff. The scene starts to be an homage to this movie.
There's something in this flick that we don't see a lot, and that's, I guess, for lack of a better term, yellow face. I mean, I don't want to be totally. I don't want.
That's a thing.
I don't want to be totally crass here if that's not what it's called.
No, I think that's
Mickey,
basically
right?
Mickey Rooney made a
would
living
think
that
it
way.
would work.
Because isn't it Breakfast at Tiffany's or something where he's like that with the
Mickey Rooney played an Asian.
yeah,
Oh,
he,
dude.
yeah,
Wasn't
with
the guy
some
who
like
was-
phony buck teeth or something.
What
and
was
the
the one-
glasses.
Yeah, what does
Charlie
he say?
Chan? Was he actually Asian?
No,
I
he
don't
was
think
a white
so.
man.
Yeah, that's
a
what I
round
thought.
eye. I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the technical term for him.
Well, okay, this is something that I don't know. It's interesting because, like, we did the Black History Month pictures. We did a few things for that, and like in particular, Bamboozled. Spend so much time being confrontational with the audience using blackface, and I think when we've had, because like there's blackface in Yankee Doodle Dandy. I don't know if we've had any other films that have had it, but it has a very kind of shocking effect. I found it just sort of makes you go like, whoa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
There's
For
no
me-
ignoring that. It's just
No.
something shocking about the image.
And for me, it's not something that like just comes and just happens, and I'm like, oh yeah. Like later on, I didn't even think about it. Like it's like, oh, blackface, like bang. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But why is it that this sort of yellow face is like? I don't want to say it's like less offensive, but what I will say is, why is it not immediately as shocking as blackface to
it's funny too
behold?
because it's not just the yellow face. I mean, think about like anything like with a Western.
Anybody playing American, an
Native
Indian,
Americans
or
or Mexicans, right? I
Yeah.
mean, they could be Italian. They could just be white guys. Who knows what they are? There's no attempt to get any kind of
Fisher Stevens, Short Circuit.
Yeah, that's right. It's
that's true.
playing like somebody from the Middle East.
Yeah, it's funny that like
Well, it was black and white film also, so that
Well, yeah.
kind of
But-
negates that yellow
Well,
face.
no,
Sorry.
but Yankee Doodle Dandy is in black and white, and when the Cohans come
Well, that's
dancing out in
blackface.
blackface.
Well, also too with the yellow
Blackface you see in black and
Well,
white.
no,
Yeah,
but also
face.
yellow face. I don't know that they would literally necessarily, especially in black. You wouldn't need to paint a lot of them. Is just eye makeup.
Yeah,
They just it's eye makeup and
I think
stuff.
if it was
so,
color, we would have really. In fact, I think there are some color films with yellow face, and
Well,
it's like
yeah, 'cause
really,
they-
it is
Red
shocking.
Breakfast
It's
at
pretty
Tiffany's,
shocking.
I think.
Is that? Oh,
Yeah,
it is that
well,
color, huh?
but okay, that Mickey Rooney, and I haven't seen it, so if I'm getting this wrong, forgive me.
where's yellow?
But that look that Mickey Rooney does, like, is so exaggerated. The makeup on Henry Silva and the affectation and the voice and stuff is certainly not as. Once again, I don't want to say it's like less offensive, but it's certainly not as like wild and outrageous as like that fucking Jerry Lewis shit or whatever.
well, I think it's just
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's a question of degrees.
Yeah, I think there's.
But then I think that's something too that I think as time goes on, you see it less and less, and it's just funny that I guess it's by who would be less likely to get offended.
Yeah.
Like he's like Rope Point. I mean, Short Circuit wasn't even that long ago, but it seemed like if they made a show these days,
30 years.
Oh well,
31
I guess in the grand scheme of
years
things. That is a long time
since
ago.
the first one came
Yeah.
out. I think-
Good
I think
Lord,
it was
but-
85.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I mean, it's not like people don't get offended by that. It's just it's
Yeah, no, and it's funny because
Well, and I
we
think that-
acknowledge it like right off the bat, but
and-
it just I don't know, it just doesn't seem to have the same.
Well, I wonder too if part of it may be like, oh, we can't really find any good Asian actors.
Well, no,
to,
okay,
like,
that's a
or
good point.
Good Native American,
like
or-
blackface was a deliberate attempt to, for the most part, caricature black people.
Right?
Whereas if they're doing a Western, when we need 15 Indians, we're not going to go try to track down 15 Native American actors. We're going to find 15 guys in the studio and put wigs on them and feathers and have
Couple
them do
of
the
key
scene.
grips.
Okay.
So I can see a lot of the time.
Well, I can see that being a result of like the studio system, because when you had that going on, they want to do everything in house.
Well, right. I'm just saying
I
I can
guess it
see
does
that
make a little more
in
sense.
some situations, whereas
But in 1962,
well, no, but I don't know that Whereas
Like,
with blackface, it was a direct attempt to negatively portray black people.
all I'm saying is 4 years later, you had Sulu playing you had George Takei playing
No, I
an
know,
Asian
but
on TV.
but okay, if anybody in there had I'm not to offend anybody, come out wearing like one of those rice hats and like have huge buck teeth and like those glasses,
Or like the low pan.
right?
We would have been like, whoa,
and be like, yeah, like oh,
The
like
low
be likey. Then
Oh my
that would have
God.
been different, and that would have been more akin to yellowface, like
Yeah.
blackface.
Yeah.
These aren't over the top caricature stereotypes.
Okay.
These are just casting where they're insensitive enough to not give a shit,
Right.
And it's like, okay, because they do use some Asians too. That's the thing with
Yeah.
blackface. There was no black
Yeah.
actors. It was all white people playing black people.
Blackers,
and
please.
usually, and even in the
Thank
Western
you.
scene with Mexicans, okay, a couple of them are actual Mexicans,
Yeah.
and the other ones are white guys. And I think it's not a direct attempt to parody or caricature a race. It's really just a matter of convenience and just not giving a shit.
yeah,
And there's definitely a difference in how they're portrayed too.
Yeah. It's
That's
not
true.
an over the top portrayal for the most part. They're usually just background characters. They're just doing what Indians in a cowboy movie would do, or whatever.
Riding a horse or some
Yeah,
shit.
exactly. Firing arrows.
Well, before we wrap it up, were there any parallels to like the election? I mean, we are doing this because of the election this year. So, did anybody see any sort of like parallel things or weird
The
kind
whole
of?
war of the parties thing. I mean, the same old shit.
Yeah, I guess so. The
Taboo,
battle of
fucking
ideologies, because you got
stigmatizing one.
Bernie Sanders
Ideal.
is sort of thought of by opponents. I mean, he's just straight up called a communist.
Yeah,
Even though he would say it's democratic socialism, but whatever moniker you put on it, it's very clear the Cold War never really ended.
for some people, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, it's
Yeah.
kind of mind-boggling that they would fear the ideology.
Yeah, it's really scary the way the political system works is because it's people speaking publicly who are kind of forced to appeal to a certain mass that they have behind them. And so
Constituents, yeah.
you get to see what kind of what's really going on there. I think we all kind of live in a pretty perhaps sheltered environment where we don't. I can't remember the last time I encountered somebody that was like definitely offensive to me, their beliefs.
No,
you know what I mean?
well, I think we certainly are in a position where we can sort of, we can sort of customize
Yeah.
our lives to filter out the things we don't want to deal with. in a
right.
way.
But if we were,
Or some of them at least.
if our country was a house, and we all had to live in that house, we'd be dealing with some pretty fucking wacky people, man.
Yeah, but it's
Well, it's a good parallel too for almost any election because you sort of have these people who are being controlled, and it's like you always talk about the idea that candidates are really just who's the most personable guy that we can get to try to win.
Charisma,
we were
man.
what movie were we just watched where we were talking about that, how it's like it's funny how the people in power aren't really the ones in power because yes, they're in power, but only because the people behind the scenes wanted them to be the one.
right?
So they do have power, but they also don't.
Also, kind of don't have
Yeah,
power.
they would
Yeah,
always be
and
holding
it's
an
weird.
indentured to whoever got them.
And
Yeah.
it's true with this, like with if they had have elected, that one senator with him being a secret communist. It's like, well, Hillary might not be a secret communist, but she might seriously be in the pocket of Wall Street.
Yeah.
And if they're pulling her strings like the communists been pulling his strings, what agendas are they going to have her following? Or what's Trump got behind the scenes going on? If he were to get into power, I mean, he's not. You got to believe he doesn't care about half the shit he's talking about.
Right.
So what was his real motivation to get into power, and what would he really plan to be doing with the power?
Yeah, what's really happening?
Yeah, and I could see maybe that just the real, honest, real life presidential political situation being maybe the inspiration for the original story in some ways.
Well, so if because communism is basically still like a totally dirty word. Now the thing of it is like it's a political ideology. Why like even to this day are people so afraid of it, and even like considering any angle of it? And is this movie like totally like anti-communism?
I think it's Pavlovian. I think as society through history we've been trained for so long to just automatically react to that word,
Right.
especially when it's brought up in such a current political landscape.
Well, it's the direct antithesis of our capitalist society. I mean, the idea being that, I mean, no matter how hard you work, you would not get more than everybody else. And the ultimate fear being that then you've got people who don't work as hard as you who will be getting the same amount. So it's like you're both working on people's kind of greed and jealousy, where it's like,
Right.
we're going to take your stuff, and then we're also going to give it to these other people who don't work as hard as you do. And I like whatever your concept of the American dream is, really, and it's not surprising that communism and capitalism, or would be at odds with this huge political Cold War for so long, because they're really directly the antithesis of each other. I mean, one is profit over everything else, and the other is profit does not exist at all. That's not a motivation.
Yeah.
And then the ironic thing is, at the end, both of them fail.
Yeah.
Because if you make everything about profit, everything goes to shit, because you have to care about people somehow. And if you try to take profit out of it, well, that doesn't work either, because then the people who are in power
Don't have any desire.
the people in power are taking the profits. Because rather it's like, it's not going to be like, well, we're not going to share equally. We're just going to keep most and just give you guys a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the end, it just becomes this forced capitalism where the people who work the hardest get the least, and who do no work get everything, which
It's
is
the
also
way
what
it
happens
is.
in capitalism anyway. So
Which is exactly the
either
way
way,
it
you're
fucking
fucked,
is.
basically.
Yeah.
It's what's that thing? If you draw a line long enough, eventually it falls off. I mean, it's just everything decays.
But there's
Yeah,
still a
shit.
huge difference in just being able to hearing like communism be like, oh, fuck that, that's dumb, to like most people's reaction like, fucking commie. What the fuck?
Think
You
about
know?
the Red Scare and Hunt. I wanted to put
Right.
you on a list, blackballing your shit.
Oh yeah.
Whoa.
Why didn't they call it red balls, by the way?
Yeah, right.
Blue ball.
Well, so I mean, because think about it. Like, are we not like today kind of supposed to believe that or feel like the whole McCarthyism and the Red Scare and the blacklist in Hollywood was absolute like horseshit?
We were, but then it's weird. I think one thing too is that, okay, I mean, even when we were little kids, it was still the Cold War. And we still thought that, like, that could end at World War III. Still
Still
even
the Cold War now.
Like,
Well,
Like,
we're,
everything's
they
we're
changed.
remind you,
totally
they would
about
remind you.
to go through another situation just like that with
Yeah.
blacklisting, except
Yeah.
now it's like
Now it's
political. It's religious
Yeah.
and political. It's
Yeah.
sexism and it's Islamophobia and it's
Yeah.
all this new stuff of
people
political
just always need
correctness.
something to be
Well,
afraid
exactly.
of.
Well, so then does that not make this movie kind of fucked up? Even if it's like under the surface, like trying to make some comment on PTSD and all this kind of stuff, isn't it still basically like trying to fuel like a witch hunt for communists?
It's not the movie that's fucked up. I mean, the movie was just telling what was going on around that time, and the fact that it's still so current is what's fucked up.
Well, and I think, I would
it's
think you
pretty
would
scary.
definitely take a stance that it does have an obvious, complete anti-communist stance.
That was crazy.
But I don't.
I almost thought the opposite of that. I almost thought it was
Well, you guys were even joking.
anti witch hunt kind
Well,
of.
maybe
type
you're right.
thing,
And you
like-
guys were kind of joking, pointing out how the hypnotism guy doesn't seem like he's that bad of a guy.
right
In the sense
Yeah.
that it does sort of paint, like, it doesn't necessarily make them out to be monsters, like in the sense that everybody just has their own ideals and everybody thinks they're doing the right thing.
They're pretty monstrous if they're having them kill their friends on stage.
Yeah,
okay,
that's
sure.
true.
And they kind of did everything sneakily and
Yeah,
kidnapped.
okay, well,
That's
so, yeah.
the whole
Well,
emotionless,
Well,
remorseless.
pretty
yeah.
sneaky. Well, I don't think as controversial as it was. I don't know if you could have got this movie made if it didn't
Yeah.
present the communists as being.
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
what I was
actually,
so
that's an
surprised by
interesting
it.
point too. Like, I mean, if obviously, you certainly would be appeasing any studio head who was really anti-communist.
Kind of the fact that they weren't cracking open puppies like beer and like drinking the blood, very surprising.
Going in so sweet.
yeah.
Crack open a puppy.
I was really surprised. I was waiting for that.
Hand me
to
a bud.
happen.
Hair bud.
Yeah.
A silver buddy.
Silver buddies.
Ride the
Silver
buddy.
buddies, like in 6 and 12 packs. All right. Well, does any
On that note,
Oh, packs.
does anybody else does anybody want to add anything about the Manchurian Candidate before we close the door on this bad boy?
It was everything I expected and more.
All right.
Is Manchuria real?
Yeah.
I think so. I think it's a region
yeah,
in
it is a
China.
region.
I think,
or at least it was. I mean, you never
Manchu.
know.
or a
Manchu
dynasty.
province,
It was
right?
a
That's-
dynasty.
God, we sound so fucking ignorant. Maybe I should look this up
Jesus,
first.
man, I'm-
Thanks, Raoul, for making us look stupid.
We'll
I'm
edit that
this
out in post.
Yeah, this
that's
never
for sure.
happened.
Yeah.
But
I'll
yeah,
edit myself in like quote, like just dropping all kinds of like.
If I
knowledge.
recall,
yeah. No, well, I do with Chris. This movie's not boring.
no.
That was my fear. It was going to be boring. I will say this movie was not boring.
it's a brainy.
Pay attention.
You need the brains.
Yeah, put the iPhone down and watch and pay attention when you're watching this one. I
Definitely.
might have to watch it twice.
All right. Well, yeah. I don't know what we're gonna see next for this presidential shit, but something.
There's a bunch of stuff out
We
there.
got a ton of stuff.
got
There's
some
been some
ideas.
interesting stuff.
Bullworth.
Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah,
Oh,
we
that'd be
talked
a
about
good one.
Bulworth possibly, or I know I just saw there's a video been going around where Ted Cruz. You remember how in the last election, like Herman Cain was like saying the stuff from like Pokemon.
I miss Herman Cain.
Ted Cruz is like using dialogue straight out of the American president, I guess.
yeah.
Oh,
geez.
really?
Yeah, it's
So
pretty.
you-
It's pretty
Yeah,
rad.
yeah. So I don't
Better
know.
watching
We'll-
them.
We'll try to. Yeah, Bulworth. We were talking that might be a really good one to revisit because I saw it once, loved it, saw it again later, fucking hated
I
it.
don't remember it at all.
And that's rad too. Maybe we should.
Yeah, that could be a good one.
I remember liking it, but I don't remember it.
Yeah. No, it's something else. Really, we just gotta. Yeah, all right.
It's really something other than
Yeah,
else.
it is. All right. So I'm Ed,
I'm Raul.
I'm John.
No, I'm Chris.
and we'll be back with more cinematic shit lordiness next time.
For elections 2016.
Yeah, keep
Yeah.
listening. Thanks. Keep watching the skis. The skis.